Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances.
3 consultants find out tomorrow when their preliminary hearing will begin for allegedly violating Oklahoma's petition signature law. More from KTOK's Peter J. Rudy.
Richard Carpenter, Paul Jacob, and Susan Johnson were indicted. All 3 are charged with conspiracy.
A judge will meet today with prosecutors and defense attorneys for 3 consultants charged with violating state laws on gathering signatures for ballot initiatives. For Richard Carpenter, Paul Jacob, and Susan Johnson, who were indicted for conspiracy.
Why were you indicted this past week by the Attorney General in Oklahoma, Drew Edmondson?
Well, I think his motivation was to send a pretty strong signal that they don't want there to be voter initiatives.
Eric O'Keefe is with us. Eric is chairman and CEO of the Sam Adams Alliance, Sam Adams Foundation.
Tell us what's happened to Paul Jacob.
Paul and some of our other friends in talking the last few years about what else can we do? What can we do to give the citizens back some of the power that's being stripped away by politicians? And spending limits seemed like the thing. For the 2006 cycle, we encouraged our friends in the pro-citizens movement to look at Michigan, Montana, Nebraska, Maine, Oregon, and Oklahoma. Well, Paul, being one of the nation's leading experts in initiatives and very pro-citizen rights, Paul Jacob went to Oklahoma to help the citizens there.
People worked to put a petition on the ballot. They not only followed the rules, they went out of their way to determine what those rules were and to follow them very closely. Now, some very powerful people have changed those rules midstream.
They have the toughest requirement. The Constitution there gives the citizens the right of initiative. The legislature limited the window to 90 days, the shortest window in the country. Very tough requirement.
And you have to be a citizen of the state.
Well, thereon hangs a tale. Practice in Oklahoma was that if you cross the state line and say you're a resident, then you are. That was the extent of it. There's no statutory definition. That has been the practice, and it has been litigated a few years ago where people moved into Oklahoma to petition. Those against the initiative sued and tried to get the signatures thrown out of those who had recently moved into the state. They lost. The state Supreme Court said, no, those signatures are good.
And what went wrong?
Well, first off, the petition drive was going great. Citizens loved it. It was polling up about 70 to 20. It was very popular. Got the signatures, got way more than enough, and the other side, in desperation, sued. The court threw this off in August of 2006. Didn't issue their full decision until December of 2006. In that decision, they claimed that non-residents had petitioned. Then, out of the blue, in September, Paul Jacob and 2 other organizers were indicted by the Attorney General there, and they faced charges. They faced criminal felony indictment for conspiracy against the state of Oklahoma.
You know, I think it's the age-old attempt to stop ideas you don't like by force, by threats, by intimidation. And frankly, it's not going to work.
Drew Edmondson is not some backwoods country bumpkin.
Now, that's the Attorney General in Oklahoma.
And he's behind the charges.
Yes, veteran political family. His father was a congressman. His uncle was governor. Brothers on the state Supreme Court that wrote the decision. They go way back in the Democratic machine. He's also the former president of the Attorneys General Association of the U.S. Term limits on the governor. There are term limits there on the legislature. There are not term limits on the Attorney General. He's been there since 1994.
And that I intend to remain as Attorney General of the state of Oklahoma.
He's one of the good old boys of the old Democratic machine in Oklahoma, and their power is slipping away as things change.
And the impact that I can have as Attorney General on those decisions and those issues is greater, at least in the short term, than the impact that I could have in the United States Senate. On the professional side, it is extremely appealing to me to be able to make a decision or a determination on a particular issue and effect action on that issue without having to consult with colleagues, without having to gain the votes of 49 or 50 other senators and the House of Representatives to get that done. And that's a part of the job that I particularly like.
Did they arrest him?
They arrested Paul last month in Oklahoma City, and
this is no
did
small
they
thing.
handcuff him?
They handcuffed Paul, and they attached him with leg irons to Susan Johnson, another organizer who's a grandmother from Michigan.
Oh, my goodness.
They're charged with conspiring a law that no one has ever been even charged with breaking.
The spirit of Sam Adams is once again in the room. We've got an American patriot by the name of Paul Jacob who is doing nothing other than exercising his constitutional rights, assisting friends in Oklahoma to circulate a petition to the Oklahoma government, and the man was dragged off in leg irons and handcuffs.
This is a political attack. It's politically motivated. It's all politics.
This is like 1776 all over again. The people are desiring the right to redress grievances to their government, and the politicians are throwing them in jail in chains.
I'll tell you what I was told early on in Oklahoma. People are afraid to speak up because they're afraid the Attorney General will come after them. The political message here, it's already sent a chilling effect. You can imagine the effect it has on petitioning in Oklahoma.
Eye to Eye on News Radio 1000 KTOK.
The former Democratic candidate for Congress is Ben Odom. There's an editorial, I don't know if you've read it yet, in the Wall Street Journal this morning, and it's about Drew Edmondson going after the folks who collected the petitions. I'm going to read one paragraph, Ben. I know you probably haven't read this yet, but I'm going to let you get your comments on it, and I know you need to know more. But they're talking about petition drive and how they said no, it's invalid because the folks gathering petitions were from out of state. Here's the Wall Street Journal editorial part. After the Oklahoma Supreme Court ruled, Attorney General Drew Edmondson could have let the matter die. Instead, he decided that the best use of scarce prosecutorial resources was to indict the petition campaigners. There's reason to believe his decision has less to do with enforcing the law, more to do with warning activists to think twice before challenging political elites. I know that's not a whole lot to go on, but you know the matter, though. You know this is an ongoing thing. What is your thought on this, Ben?
Well, my thought is, just from that little blurb there, that as usual, a Wall Street Journal editorial, which is truly an elite in this country, is hogwash. And Drew Edmondson's protecting the integrity of the Oklahoma political system. And Drew Edmondson, he does what he needs to be done. And I think that the fact that he's willing to do what he needs to do speaks volumes here. And I could care less, frankly, what the Wall Street Journal thinks about what happens in Oklahoma.
Just thought it was interesting that it made a splash all the way up to the Wall Street Journal.
Speaking as a former criminal law professor at OU, speaking as someone who's been an attorney for almost a quarter of a century in this state, all I have to say here is that but they're separate statutes. You have state laws, you have federal laws, and so that's what's going on there. In terms of what other people may think about investing in Oklahoma, the Wall Street Journal has always had a very consistent, hard line to the right, to the conservative side on most issues, and I think most people who read that are going to be very aware of it, and are also going to be, if they're savvy enough to have millions to invest in Oklahoma, to understand that the Edmondsons have long been long-time Democratic family in Oklahoma, with Governor Edmondson, U.S. Senator Edmondson, Congressman Edmondson, and now Attorney General.
Attorney General Drew Edmondson continues to come under fire. Owasso State Senator Randy Brogdon says the prosecution is politically motivated.
That takes away some of the power from the politician and gives it directly to the people. And there are a lot of politicians, Drew Edmondson included, that obviously does not like the petition process.
Brogdon wants more answers from Attorney General Drew Edmondson on why he is continuing with the prosecution of signature gatherers. Brogdon says it's an embarrassment to the state that people around the country can see.
Criminally charged 3 people for petitioning the government, one of the most sacred things that we have left to hang on to in this country. He criminalized that, and I just find it appalling.
There is no comment from the Attorney General's office.
Now we're being threatened, and I think the reason is clear. They want to shut us up, and they want to scare anyone else who might want to reform their government from doing it. But it's not going to work. We're not going to simply sit back and let them steal our freedom.
Attorney General Drew Edmondson's spokesman had no official comment.